All right, since it is noon, I will go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for being here today. I really appreciate that you're taking the time to learn from us and be here today and give us some of your time and your attention. Thank you to Caleb and Zachary for hosting and for having us here to present information today. Caleb, did you want to go ahead and mention your survey again?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, my name's Caleb Alford. I'm the Director of Community Services at the Arc of the Capital Area, and I'm here with Zachary Godfrey, our Outreach Coordinator from the Arc of the Capital Area. He's helping us out, just kind of do these trainings, and he'll be sending out another schedule for trainings that we're going to be offering and just partnering with a consolidated planning group. So we appreciate y'all having us today and everyone joining. I did put in the chat box a sign-in sheet for our programs. This just helps us continue to get funding and helps us continue doing these in the community. So if you can please take some time and fill out that quick sign-in sheet. And at the very end, we will also have a quick survey too for you guys to fill out. So we, again, appreciate it. Like Michelle said, it really helps us continue to get funding. And I saw someone say they don't see the sign-in sheet. I just put it in again.
It looks like you posted it. So when it says to hosts and panelists, make sure that it says to everyone.
Thank you. Good to know.
You're welcome. No problem. So you can see we've got the chat box going. We're in webinar mode today on Zoom, which means that we cannot see and hear all of you. Your cameras are off, your sound is off, or your microphones are muted, I mean. So go ahead and eat or do whatever you need to do while you're listening to this, because we can't see you anyway. But you can go ahead and put any questions or comments that you have into the chat box, and I'm gonna have my eye on that. If I do get distracted while I'm talking, it's probably because something came through the chat box that I'm trying to look at.
And I can watch for you, Michelle, if you'd like.
Thank you, thank you. Also, if a question comes through the chat box and I completely ignore it, please don't be offended. It just probably means that I'm about to get to that information. So I'll just keep going rather than stop and address something that I'm about to address anyway. The webinar today is being recorded. We put all of our webinars on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to view the recording there. You're also going to get an email after this is all said and done, probably later this afternoon, that will have contact information for Caleb and the Arc of the Capital Area, plus contact information for myself and Consolidated Planning Group. It will have all the slides, and so if anything is clickable as we go through, you'll be able to click those links when you receive the slides, and a link to where the video can be found. So all of that information will come to you. Like I said, feel free to use the chat box and I'll answer questions as we go. So anyway, let's get started, shall we? Consolidated Planning Group is a special needs focused financial planning firm. We are holistic in that we look at all areas of your financial life. And one thing that we really focus on is helping families with special needs loved ones to plan and prepare for their future. We present these webinars 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week, because we are really big on education and advocating for families with special needs loved ones. So today our topic is, do I need an ABLE account? We get questions about ABLE accounts all the time. Why do you need one? What can it pay for? What are the rules? What's the difference between ABLE and a special needs trust or things like that? So we figured we would just put all of that information into one helpful webinar here for you and make it a presentation. But we are available, if you have questions afterwards, I'll let you know how you can reach out to us. So an ABLE account is a 529A. Now, you've probably heard of a 529C, which is the college savings account. That's a 529C. It's very similar, but this is a 529A, A for ABLE. And that stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. So this was started in 2014. There are now, well, actually probably more now, but as of 2018, there were 40 different ABLE accounts to choose from, ABLE programs throughout the nation. You do not have to use, for example, the Texas ABLE account just because you live in Texas. You don't have to use Ohio's ABLE account just because you live in Ohio. You have the choice of going with any specific program that you would like to, no matter what state you are in or what state the program is in. It's important that you look at the differences and find the best fit for you and your family and the individual. So there might be differences in investment options, or the ease with which you open your account and access your money, how they maintain your account, and what fees they charge. So you really want to look into all of those different things when you're thinking about opening an ABLE account. We typically recommend Virginia's version of the ABLE account. It's called ABLE America, and it is run through American Funds. That's the investment company that does it. So a 529A ABLE account, the beneficiary of the account is the account owner, and that can be your child. The income that is earned in this account is not taxed. Now, there isn't really, you can't take a tax deduction when you put money in. Some states sometimes allow for a state income tax, but of course, Texas doesn't even have a state income tax, so we can't give you a discount on that here. But your contributions are not deductible, but the income earned doesn't get taxed. So that's a benefit. And the money that your special needs loved one has in their ABLE account does not jeopardize their other government benefits like SSI and Medicaid, waivers, anything like that. So they can have money in two places. And we're going to talk about these two places today where they can have money that would not jeopardize their benefits. That is this ABLE account and a special needs trust. You can have one or the other or both, it's fine. They work well together, and we're going to talk about why. So there are some special contribution and distribution limits with the ABLE account that we're going to go through. There are, there's rules to the game, but, and sometimes the ABLE account does feel like a little bit of a game that needs to be played correctly to make sure that you make the most of what is available to you, but we can help you figure that out. Okay. So anybody whose disability started before age 26 can have an ABLE account. As far as I know, we don't really have any clients who have reported really being asked what the disability is. But as long as you have record of being diagnosed with some sort of disability before age 26, you should be in the clear. Now, if your child has an ABLE account, they started, their disability began before age 26, they are the owners of that account. Anyone can contribute to it. Aunts, uncles, grandma, grandparents, friends, and other relatives, anybody who wants to can put money into the ABLE account. There is there's a limited gift tax annual exclusion. Currently, you cannot have more than $16,000. You can't put in $16,000. My mouth is getting away from me. You cannot put in more than $16,000 a year. That's what I was trying to say. So the funds that are in there, you put in $16,000 a year or less, but you don't want to have over 100,000 total in there at any time. And the reason for that is because that would disqualify your your child from their SSI benefits. Now, the only way they could put in more than $16,000 a year is if they have a job. If the account owner, your child, has a job, then they can put an additional $12,880 into the account per year of their income. But only if they don't have a retirement plan that is sponsored by their employer. So this can also act kind of as their retirement plan. But again, you don't want to have more than 100,000 total in there. When you take a distribution, it is important that it is for a qualified disability expense. And we're going to talk about that. Distributions are not taxable. The earnings are subject to a 10%, a normal income tax, and 10% penalty if you take them out for reasons other than qualified disability expenses. Okay, but they do grow tax-free. They're invested, and you can change your investments twice a year if you want to. If there's any reason for you to go in there and make some adjustments yourself, you can do that. You can even roll over the 529A to another family member as long as they're eligible. So if you have more than one family member with a disability, you can do that. Also, if you have a 529C, which is, remember, the 529C is for college savings account, you can roll money from the 529C into your 529A. Let's say, for example, you have a child and from birth, you've been saving in a 529 college savings plan for that child. Several years later, your child is diagnosed with some sort of a disability, and you realize that college may or may not be in their future. Maybe that's not going to be the right path for them. So you can take the money from the 529C, $16,000 each year, and roll it into a 529A. At that point, your child will be able to use that money for college or for other qualified disability expenses that we will talk about. So it's a way to open up that money and free it up a little bit to have more possibilities for your child. Now, at death, if there is money left over in this account and the owner of the account passes away, the government and the states might be able to reclaim some of that money. It's a Medicaid drawback. Any additional funds after that, after what Medicaid takes, can be distributed to other beneficiaries or rolled over to another eligible family member. But you do want to be careful that you don't have too much in there that Medicaid is going to take all of it. I see no questions yet, so I'm going to plow along. So what can you pay for with an ABLE account? A lot of times we say almost anything that will improve the life of somebody with a disability. So here are some examples. Any basic daily living expenses, utilities, rent, groceries, gas, anything like that. Things that fall under health and wellness, like prescription costs, or any healthcare expenses that Medicaid or your private health insurance don't already cover. You can use your ABLE account for that. Housing, your rent, your mortgage payments. Now, the thing with housing is that if you use your ABLE account to pay for housing, that's totally fine, and it does not affect their SSI benefits. However, if you use a special needs trust to pay for rent or mortgage payments, then that will reduce your monthly SSI benefit by 1/3. Okay, so it does make a difference where the money comes from to pay for the things that they need. And we're going to get into more about what the trust can pay for in a little bit. So again, these are things that ABLE accounts can pay for. I just got a question. Is SSI a taxable income? I don't think so. It's a benefit from the state SSI. You should get about $841 a month unless you have reductions for things like housing. But no, it's not taxable. Unless anybody knows different, please correct me. I am always open to learning if I make a mistake. You can use your ABLE account to pay for financial management and administrative services, transportation. If you need a car or you need to use public transportation or even a Lyft or an Uber or a taxi to get around, you can use the ABLE account for that. Any education, training, supports like job coach or classes to learn new skills, you can pay for that with ABLE accounts. Technology like an iPhone or a laptop or any other assistive technology that your child may need. Personal support services and even legal assistance. So most of the expenses that you can't pay for with your trust, you can pay for with the ABLE account. And that's why it's a really great idea to have both of those things. Because like I said, if you pay for rent or your mortgage payments through your trust, you're gonna lower your amount of benefits that you get. So you use your ABLE account for that. What can the trust pay for? This is a big list. The trust can pay for a lot of things. It's probably easier when we get to the next slide to see what it cannot pay for. That's what's going to be on the next slide. But take a moment and look at this. Laundry and cleaning supplies, clothes, cable TV bills, trips and vacations, but don't pay for food on those trips or vacations with the trust. Use your ABLE account for food, shelter, utilities, things like that. Eyeglasses, exercise equipment, entertainment, professional services, tuition, hobbies, cigarettes even, musical instruments, clubs. And really, there's so much that your special needs trust can pay for. You just need to make sure that you don't use it to pay for daily living things like the necessities of daily life, shelter, food, utilities. Okay, so here's the next list, which is easier to understand than this. I mean, this is so broad. The special needs trust can pay for all of these things, but what it cannot pay for: rent, mortgage, real estate taxes, gas, electricity, water, sewage. And they're not talking about for your car. They're talking about your gas bill for your home. Any homeowners insurance, condo charges, HOH fees, things like that. No cash. You cannot get cash from your special needs trust, and not food. And really anything that the special needs trust pays for, you have to have permission from the trustee. We recommend that, first of all, you need an attorney to help you set up a special needs trust. It can be part of your will, or it can be separate from your will. So if it's wrapped into your will, it would say something like, upon my death, a special needs trust for the benefit of Evan Morris will be formed. I'm using my son's name. And then anything that you want to leave to the trust, like life insurance, you would say the beneficiary of the life insurance is the special needs trust for the benefit of Evan Morris. You never want to directly leave it to your child, because when that pays out, boom, they have more than $2,000 in their name and they won't qualify for SSI benefits anymore. For your special needs trust, it can be in your will, or if you would rather open it and start funding it right away, you can have it outside of your will. A reason you might want to do that and have it open separate from your will is, maybe your parents or some other aging relatives are thinking about leaving an inheritance to your child. You want to have the special needs trust open so that they can fund it when they pass. So again, an attorney will help you set up a special needs trust. We at Consolidated Planning Group, we are not attorneys. We cannot do your special needs trust, your will, guardianship, HOA, power of attorney, POA, things like that. What we do is we help you make sure that your money is there in the right places, in the right buckets to fund everything appropriately, and that you get all the benefits that you deserve, and you send in the correct paperwork and you know the right things to say. So I'm seeing some things here in the chat box. Just a reminder that if you have not signed in yet, please go sign in. There's a link there in the chat box. An ABLE account, can I compare an ABLE account with something like an HSA that some employers offer? Money that goes into an HSA or an FSA is pre-tax. So yeah, it's a little bit similar to that. It's kind of similar in that you put money in, it grows, it gets invested, but you have to use it for the right things, right? You can't just do whatever you want with it. So yes, it is a little bit similar. So another thing about the ABLE account, I was talking about how there are over 40 different ABLE accounts throughout the United States, and you can use any of them that you want to. If you would like to open one yourself, you can certainly do that. Go do some research and find out which ones you like and which ones fit your needs the best. If you would like to have someone do that for you, we can help with that. Does a special needs first party trust have to follow the same guidelines as a third party trust? So pretty much it does. So a first party trust is money that is for example, child support. Child support is money that is being paid to the child. You know, once they turn 18, if they're still getting child support, it needs to go to a trust. But that would be a first party trust because that money is the child's, and it you know, Mary Beth, I can't really put it into words right in this moment. But you want to have your third party trust for things like life insurance, rolling over your bank account, first party trust for things like child support. Probably your child could put their own money into a first party trust if they have a job and they want to put money in there so that they don't have all of the access to all their money all at once. They want to use it kind of as a savings account and not have that more than $2,000. That would be a good use for it as well. And then someone says they're still lost with how the ABLE account is connected with the special needs trust. So they're not connected. They're two different things, but they're two different places where your special needs child can have money that does not affect their benefits. And each one is intended to pay for different items. Now, a special needs trust yes, this slide that we're looking at in bright red letters says your special needs trust cannot pay for rent and mortgage. Technically, yes, it can. But if you do use the money from your special needs trust to pay for these things, then you're going to reduce your benefits that you're getting for SSI. So you do not want it to. You don't want to use your special needs trust for these types of items, expenses. All right.
And real quick, I wanted to clarify that one. And the reason for that is that because the special needs trust is seen almost as like a gift to the adult child, whereas the ABLE account is their own income, right? That's why they're not getting that 1/3 reduction rule.
Yes, because the SSI is meant to help with food and housing and living expenses. But if they have a trust, to pay for those food and living and rent and stuff like that, then why do they need the SSI to pay for that? That's kind of the argument that they use. So that's why you shouldn't use your trust to pay for that stuff. All right, thank you guys so much for your questions. So let's talk a little bit about beyond high school. And some other topics that we get asked about all the time. Now, these are some great options and programs that are available out there for after high school for your children. We don't work for any of these companies and they don't work for us, but these are some things that you might want to look into. Things like the VAST Academy at HCC. Lynn University has a metamorphosis program. Aggie Achieve, I've heard, is a great program, and A&M also has the PATHS program. There's the CASE program at Texas Tech. West Texas A&M has a program called WTLC, which is Where the Learning Continues. E4 Texas out in Austin at UT is another great program we've heard about. I also heard that Texas State is starting a program in San Marcos that is going to be very similar to Aggie Achieves. I think that program is starting next year. One of our clients said that they were going to go tour that next month. So she's going to report back to us, and then we can add that information to our future webinars. But if you know about any of these programs, feel free to put positive comments into the chat box. We try to stay away from negative comments around here. But if you have anything that you want to brag on, that would be great to share. These are some of the great transition and day programs that are available after high school. Brookwood Community is out in Brookshire, Marbridge, Next Step Transition Center, Reach Unlimited, Summer House, the Hub in Houston. Hub stands for Heard, Understood, and Believed in. And there's the Monarch School and Institute in Houston. Like I said, we're going to send out these slides and a recording of this webinar after we're all finished here today. And when we do, these links are clickable, so you'll be able to visit the websites for these different programs. Caleb, do you have one?
I wanted to throw in there too. So actually our agency, the Arc of the Capital Area, does have day program options as well.
Oh, fantastic.
So we did sell our central location. So we actually will be expanding. We have two currently, one in central Austin near the Capitol, and then we have one in Hutto, which is our Williamson County location. We do plan on expanding south and west eventually. So our hope is within the next 5 years to have 5 to 6 or 7 day programs throughout the Austin area. So I am a little biased, but we do definitely have one of the best ones in this area. So I would
recommend. Obviously the Arc of the Capital Area has the very best programs.
We do, especially for the Austin. And I would also tell people about Down Home Ranch and Elgin. They're really great as well.
Yes. We have a client who has their children at Down Home Ranch, and they just love it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great program there.
Yes.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Here's a bunch more residential and partial residential all throughout Texas. And the links are there. You would just have to copy and paste those into your browser once you get the slides. Down Home Ranch is listed. Bunch of different opportunities. We have had in the past residential panel webinars. We had one a couple months ago, and we're going to have another coming up in October. So if that is something that interests you, make sure you get on our email list and we'll get that sent out to you. Some other things, and I'm just waiting for more questions on ABLE accounts to come up in the chat box while I go through these other things. So feel free. Like I said, today's webinar isn't going to last the full hour. Probably more like 45 minutes. Anyway, these are some more things that should be on your special needs planning radar. And these are things that we do topics on all the time and things we can help with. But how to develop a comprehensive special needs care plan? You know, what is going to happen with your student, with your child, once they graduate, once they're out into adulthood? Are they going to be independent? What's going to happen when you're gone? How are they going to be taken care of? What does their future care cost estimate look like? I mean, if your child is going to go to a residential care situation, or maybe be in a group home or partial residential, what is that going to cost, not just right now, but in the future? And how are you going to get that paid for? So let's go back to the chat. We have, do ABLE accounts function like a regular bank account? Yes. So some states are different. Like I said, with over 40 different ABLE accounts throughout the United States, some of them are way easier to access your money, and some of them make it a little bit more difficult. Texas just recently got cards, kind of like a credit card or a debit card that you can use with your ABLE account. Some of them link with like your checking account, and you can have the money transferred. So yes. And some of the differences in all of those different 40 plus accounts all over the different states. So like I said, different states have set up ABLE accounts, and some of them were really great and right on the forefront, and did a great job of setting things up. They've got great investment plans. Their fees are low. They're easy to sign up for and easy to track and easy to access. Other states maybe came a little bit late to the party and didn't bring a great bottle of wine for the hostess. And maybe some states have higher fees, or they don't have just an easy credit card style way of getting your funds out, or maybe they're not investing them in the very best investment vehicles to raise the investment value of those funds. So there is a difference in the different states and the different account options. Okay. Do the residential programs on this previous slide, there's a couple slides of residential programs, cost money? Trying to guess, a price range per month. Caleb, would you like to talk about the costs of your residential?
Yeah, and sorry, I meant to clarify too. Ours is the day program. We actually don't
Day
offer
program.
residential, but
Okay.
some residential facilities will offer day programming too, and some just have day programming. We are just day programming, just to clarify that. I can give you a good example. Is it depends on the facility that you're looking at. I know Marbridge is probably one of the most expensive in the state. People from all over the country send their loved ones there because of how great it is. It does cost on average around $4,000 private pay a month for Marbridge specifically. They do not take Medicaid waivers, I don't believe. Another good example that I'm familiar with is Down Home Ranch is a facility as well. They are on a ranch located out in Elgin. They do private pay. I think it's around $2,000 to $3,000 a month for private pay, but they also take the HCS waiver as well. Theirs is a lot smaller. They only serve 40 clients in HCS waiver, and the clients actually have to vote in who gets to move in the house with them, which is kind of cool. They give them that autonomy and ability to decide who becomes part of their living with them. So those are two examples, but they can be very pricey for sure.
Yes, they can be very pricey, and they, not all residential facilities are equipped to deal with all issues. Some of them are fine with all kinds of medical issues, and some of them have restrictions. They need to be able to function independently in the bathroom, and they need to be able to do this or that independently, or maybe they're not equipped to deal with a lot of emotional or behavioral outbursts. So again, we have had webinars on different residential options. It's something that you want to really research ahead of time, find out about all this stuff. And we're trying as much as possible to provide that information through our webinars. But still, if you find a residential program that is the perfect fit for your family, maybe you can afford it, or they do allow for waivers, and they can accept your child, and it feels like the right fit. And then you go to apply and you find out that there's a $5,000 to year waiting list. You need to look early and start narrowing things down for yourselves so that when you do find the right fit, you're there early enough to get on the waiting list for good timing for your family.
And many do tours as well, so you can actually drop by and do tours with them. And then the big part too, is I'm sure y'all do this in trainings, is that for those who can't afford residential facilities, I know people don't like it a lot. There are group home options, and everyone who qualifies for Medicaid in the state of Texas with a disability can qualify for group home housing. However, waiver housing is a lot better, especially with the HCS waiver, which is a 15 and 20-year wait list in the state of Texas. So something we say here at the ARC a lot is really get your child on the Medicaid waivers as soon as you know that they have a disability. They can be 2 years old and you can get them on then. And by the time they hit their 20s, 30s, they'll have that service. Hopefully the state of Texas will put funding in sooner so that wait list will be dramatically less by the point in time they become an adult. So
yes, we're definitely hoping so. And we have webinars about the waiver programs as well that we've done that you can find on our YouTube channel. Is there a comparison chart of all the ABLE accounts that show fees and debit card, and how it all works? Unfortunately, life is not that simple. Unfortunately not. If I were you, I would Google, and like I said, we do recommend one specific, which is the Virginia one, and we can help people sign up for that. But I would Google, maybe someone has made a research project out of that and figured out all the best ABLE accounts in the country. But we don't have that, unfortunately.
and many of them have good sites too. Like even Texas Able has a chat box that you can chat in, and 1-800 number, they'll call you right away, or you can call and get into a live person and they'll be able to tell you all the fees. So it should be pretty quick, just doing quick research.
Yeah. If your child is going to be attending college in some form and receives financial aid, can or should that money go into the ABLE account? And will that prevent it from affecting eligibility? So typically, what I have found is that when your child receives financial aid for some kind of college program, it's typically paid directly to the school, or you can ask that it be paid directly to the school. That way, since your child never even touches it, it wouldn't affect their benefits. Now, in some situations, your child gets a scholarship, maybe, and then they don't use all of it and they get a refund. That money should be put into something else, that it can go into an ABLE account, or it can go into a trust or something like that to get it out of your kids' hands. Yeah, definitely. You don't want that just sitting in their bank account.
I have a question with that too, and maybe you can clarify. So would this include financial money that's given from a scholarship or from FAFSA for housing? Because I know at UT, like they covered the tuition directly to the school, but I was given a check for housing specifically. So could people go ahead and throw it in the ABLE to help protect that?
Yes.
And then they can use the ABLE to pay for housing and it qualifies.
Yes, that would be the ideal way to do it. Either that, or if the school can give it to the parent instead of to the child. Yeah, you just really want to make sure that they don't have too much money in their name, but putting it into the ABLE account would definitely protect that. Okay, so Texas waivers and interest lists, we talked a little bit about that just now. There are 8 different waiver programs in the state of Texas. Your child will not qualify for all of them, but you should be on as many of the waiting lists as you can possibly be on, because there's a lot of overlap in what they'll pay for. And whichever one you come up for first is going to help you guys. There are some that the waiting list is very short, but those are going to be very limited in who they serve. For example, the DBMD waiver, it's deaf, blind, and multiple disabilities. So if your child has all of that, deaf and blind and another disability, they can go on that list. Now, that's not everybody qualifies for that. On the flip side, one like HCS or CLASS, it's for disabilities. So any child with a disability can qualify for those. So the waiting lists are very, very long for some of them. Get your child on the list for the Texas waivers as soon as you possibly can. You will want to watch our webinar about that, and you'll want to contact your local intellectual disability authority to get on some of those lists. There's another phone number that's in the webinar. SSI. When your child is under the age of 18, they probably will not qualify for SSI benefits because they look at your income. And if you have more than $2,000 as a single person or $3,000 as a married person in your name, you will not qualify for SSI benefits, which makes me extremely angry because you can't do anything with $2,000. I don't know why the limit is so low, and we've been fighting for that legislation to change, but that's how it is right now. When your child turns 18, then the Social Security Administration will look at their assets and their income rather than yours. They're technically an adult, they're on their own. So then they should be able to qualify. The total amount right now is $841 a month. And we can, help you understand those benefits and how to get all of that money. ABLE accounts, of course, we've talked about that all hour. Beneficiary designations, I did mention that you don't want your child as a beneficiary on any of your accounts. You want their trust or the money to go to their ABLE account. We talked about special needs trust. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet, if there is child support in your life situation, if there's child support that is going to continue beyond your child's 18th year, so your child is 18 years old, they're still getting child support from one of their parents, that child support needs to go into a first party special needs trust. And again, Mary Beth, unfortunately, I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of first party versus third party because we are not attorneys, but your attorney will be able to help you with that. If that money continues to go directly to the child, it'll count as income and mess up their SSI benefits. Start touring those residential facilities. Make sure that you find the one that is right for your family with plenty of time to sit on a waiting list if needed. Guardianship. If guardianship is a consideration for you and your family, alternatives to guardianship like power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, supported decision-making, all of those things, that requires an attorney. And you can start that guardianship process when your child is within 6 months of turning 18. So you can get started a little early on that. And the law here in Texas is that you're required to do the least restrictive thing for your child. If guardianship seems right for you, but partial guardianship will work just as well according to the courts, that's what they're going to want you to do. And it is a legal thing. Like I said, you have to go through an attorney. Karen just shared that she found a website where you can compare ABLE accounts. Thank you so much, Karen. I'm going to save this definitely. And she says you can select 3 different states to compare, and it'll tell you their fees and if they allow out of state. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we have that. I'm definitely going to share that and use that. Another thing I wanted to say while we're talking briefly about power of attorney and healthcare power of attorney, if you have kids that are no longer kids, they're young adults like mine. I have a 21-year-old who is in college in Chicago. The one in Virginia that we use is ABLE America through American Funds. Okay, power of attorney, that's what I was talking about. So my son is 21. He's in Chicago studying music. I'm here in Houston. If he gets hit by the L train, there is no regulation or law or anything saying that the hospital in Chicago needs to let me know anything about his health or his situation or what's going on with him. So we have a power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney on him, even though he is a neurotypical. He doesn't have any disabilities, as far as we know. But I still have that power of attorney because he's an adult, even though he's my baby. So you might want to consider that for your own child, who are older than 18, but still going to rely on you. And you might think about those children when you're thinking about beneficiary designations as well. My younger son is 18. So if I passed away and he inherited my life insurance tomorrow at age 18, I know he's very smart, and all of your kids are very, very smart. And I'm sure that he would save some money for his future, but I'm also sure that my 18-year-old would buy some really, really sweet classic cars before he worried about saving money for college tuition. So you might not always want your children to be beneficiaries, even if they don't have disabilities, on things like your life insurance. Just some other things to think about. We focus on families with special needs loved ones, but there are things you need to think about with children of all abilities and all ages.
And Michelle, I wanted to share something with guardianship too. We actually offer a guardianship low cost program here at the ARC. It's for Travis County residents only. We do it for a low cost of $200. I think we're one of two or a few in the state that offer a low cost for it. Typically it can be anywhere from 2 to 5 or more, depending on if it's contentious. Some takeaways I like to tell people too is, I know y'all said about 6 months before turning 18. The idea is the person who you're applying for guardianship over, or the ward, has to be 18 by the date they see the judge. So when they're seeing the judge, they could be turn 18 the day before. As long as they're 18 when they're in front of the judge, and at least for Travis County, they are good to go. And also for the power of attorney and other types of power of attorneys, remember that the child has to understand what they're signing for it to be valid. That's why it's an alternative, is you're saying that they just need light support. So they have to understand the document, whereas full guardianship or guardianship is stating that that child is considered incapacitated under the eyes of the law. Therefore, they wouldn't understand a power of attorney document. So it wouldn't be valid if they signed it. So that's just clarification on that for some people, that just to know, because I've had families come in thinking they could just do power of attorney, but their individual is nonverbal, is not able to communicate in any way. Therefore, they would not understand that document, and therefore it's not valid. So just to clarify that with y'all as well.
Very good, thank you. We actually had someone that I was talking to earlier this week who had adopted a child, and she was confused about guardianship because she says, well, I thought that when we adopted her, we became her guardians. And I said, yes, but this is something, this is guardianship after age 18 or when they turn 18. This isn't, this is guardianship of an adult. So you're not just automatically their guardian anymore. You have to have this. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And there's a great,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's a great comment in the chat box, right on the day when your kid turns 18, doesn't mean that they're an adult, but, through the eyes of the law, they are. So there's things that you need to consider as parents.
Nope, totally.
And do you have anything else for us, Caleb?
I lost my thought. It was something else. Oh, another misconception for a lot of people with our intake and referral line that we've been seeing from all over the state is people will sometimes want guardianship thinking that it will give them the ability to put their loved one in the state supported living center or some other intensive care facility based off their needs. Unless you've tried all other options, you will not be allowed to, even with guardianship, require someone to go to state supported living center without, like, if they were saying they don't want to go, you can't force them. You have to go with the least restrictive environment first, try all options, and then go to the court and ask for that to be an option. And then the court would have to grant that for you to be able to actually put them there.
Did I hear something that you have to be turned away by 3 other options?
Potentially. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, just to show that you've done your due diligence trying to find other options, because you're right, because a provider could, even though they're technically not allowed, could say they don't have the ability to provide services for your loved one based off needs. So the state supported living center might be the only option because they may have the only staff to be able to do that. So possibly so.
Thank you. So this is our firm, Consolidated Planning Group. This is our glamour shots Allison and Jeff own the company. We're all based just outside of Houston. Allison and Jeff live in Sugar Land. They have 2 special needs kids, and this is why we really do what we do. And then there's myself and my husband, so it's 2 husband and wife teams. We have a couple girls who help in the office with making phone calls and gathering documents and scheduling appointments and things like that. And then Meredith does all of our marketing and sets up these great webinars. But I just want to point out that we are licensed the same way as any other financial planning firm, but we take it a step further. We are part of the Academy of Special Needs Planners, members of the $1 Million Roundtable, and we are National Social Security Advisors. We got that extra oomph behind our resumes. We offer a free consultation to anyone who has questions or wants to chat about special needs financial planning topics. Any of that list of topics that I talked about earlier, or if you have further questions from today's webinar, the way that this meeting goes is, first and foremost, we want to answer what questions you have, what's keeping you up at night and really got you worried about your child's future. We want to help as much as we can. Then we're going to ask a little bit about you and your family and your child and find out about you. Then we're going to tell you about us, what we do, how we charge, how we work, and all of that. And then we'll see from there, would we be a good fit to go forward into doing either a planning option for you or a one-off, maybe you just have questions about stuff, or maybe you want to look at life insurance quotes or something. We can help you with those things. We are very low pressure. We are here to help more than anything. That's our main goal. So if you wanted to schedule an appointment with us, you could use this QR code that will open up our calendar system, and you can just put yourself right on our calendars, or you can call or email if the QR code is not your thing. I also have listed our Facebook and YouTube channels down here. So on Facebook, we are Consolidated Planning. And on YouTube, we're Consolidated Planning Group. You can check either one of those out. The Facebook will show, what webinars we have coming up and some helpful articles and things like that. And then, of course, like I said, all of our webinars, including this one, go to our YouTube channel. You're going to receive an email later today or early tomorrow with all of that info. My contact info, Caleb's contact info, ways to get in touch with us. But we're always here for you if you have questions. Feel free. I put my email address in the chat box at the very beginning, but I'll do it again. It's mmorris@cpgcares.com. Oh, well, that's weird. Anyway, mmorris@cpgcares. If you need anything, feel free to reach out. Caleb, thank you again. Zachary, thank you for hosting us today.
Thank y'all. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you to everyone who came and spent some time with us this afternoon. I hope that we were helpful to you and able to provide some useful information. And we're here for you if you have questions, okay?
Thank you. And if anyone hasn't already, please just do that quick survey. We really appreciate it. That just helps us keep doing this in the community. So again, thank y'all so much. We really appreciate it.
Fantastic. All right, everybody, go out, enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.